Not the hero of the story. I'm just a stunt guy. Trying to look cool in front of the director of this movie. That's her, who I just so happen to have a major crush on.
We need to keep it super profesh.
Cool. Do you want to make out?
Nope.
T'as accouché 40 femmes.
Non, soigner. Sois pas sourde, hein, maintenant, t'es pas sourde.
L'essentiel, c'est les souvenirs.
Hello and thanks for joining us for this week's film show. And we're starting with an entertaining comedy starring Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. It follows the success of their previous movies that you may have heard of, Oppenheimer and Barbie, respectively. It's loosely based on the 1980s American TV series about stunt performers starring Lee Majors. Let's take a look at the new version.
Let's make some trouble.
Get out of my head. Stay alive. No matter what. We're gonna beat the shit out of him.
I have a better idea.
You wanna die? Okay. Maniac. This stuntman's crazy.
We're gonna surround him.
And we beat the shit out of him. Shit. One last stunt. Going down in a blaze of glory.
Well, I'm here in the studio with film critic Lisa Nesselson. This is directed by David Leitch, who started out as a stuntman himself, doubling for the likes of Brad Pitt and Jean-Claude Van Damme, who I'm quite upset wasn't actually doing his own stunts. This is a love letter to the unsung heroes of cinema, isn't it?
Well, if we go back, a lot of what made early silent films so exciting was that what we would call stunts today was often nothing more than unguarded insanity in the teens and 20s. In other words, if you saw somebody dangling off a building, chances are they really were dangling off a building. Now we have digital and mechanical assists galore, but we still need stunt people, and no question, they're a special breed. So Ryan Gosling plays Colt Seavers, a veteran stunt guy who has been doubling for international star Tom Ryder for years. He's nuts about Jodie, a gifted camera assistant played by Emily Blunt, whose goal is to direct her own sci-fi action movie. Anybody who has ever seen a movie knows they're meant to be together. But when a stunt goes horribly awry and Colt is seriously injured, circumstances keep them apart.
OK, well, here's Ryan Gosling on why stunt performers deserve our awe and respect.
They're actually the real heroes. They do all the heroic stuff on screen. They take the hits for us. They put themselves in personal, they suffer personal harm for us. They get none of the credit. They sort of disappear into the shadows. It's not fair. And so it's very cool to focus a film on them. Plus it's exciting because, they know how to do in life what you can only do in the movies. So they're the perfect subject of an action film.
And of course, there's no Oscar category for stuntmen, so maybe this is a bit of a call to get that category put in place. The story's a bit light, I must admit, but the stunts are convincing, aren't they?
Nah. Oh, yes, they are. It would be embarrassing if they weren't. But the script could be better. It's mildly entertaining instead of semi-dazzling. Colt gets drafted on short notice to work on Jodie's debut film as a director, Metal Storm, which involves human cowboys and space aliens. Some people train dogs to roll over, and there is a good running gag with a dog who only understands commands in French. But here it is cars that roll over and over and over and over. There are moderately fun nods to pop culture milestones such as Miami Vice and the Mission Impossible and John Wick movies, and the film runs with that tradition in which the villain admits how villainous he is because he mistakenly assumes the good guy is a guaranteed goner. Now, Gosling and Blunt are very good actors who are also bona fide movie stars. They're obviously having a blast. I wish I could say I had as much fun watching as they almost certainly had making the movie. And if you do go, make sure you stay for the closing credits because there's some fun stuff in there.
OK, well, from superstar Ryan Gosling to a relatively unknown person, an unknown name, Philippe Caland.
Well, 3 of the ultra-independent films Caland has written, produced, directed, and starred in are slated for a 1-month run here in Paris. Hollywood Buddha, Ripple Effect, known as Karma in France, and The Guru and the Gypsy. Now, it's almost impossible to convey the earnest, offbeat charm of Caland's often funny tales about upheaval and choice and redemption from short snippets, but here's a snippet or 2 of them. Hollywood Buddha is a film that was barely shown after monks took to the streets to protest. They were offended by the poster. And for Ripple Effect, Caland amazingly convinced Forrest Whitaker to star in it over the phone without the 2 men having met.
I've been living with this 15 years now. I drove to Los Angeles one day, and a man crossed the street, and I hit him. And he got hurt. I know who he is, where he lives. I have to face this man, baby.
You think that girl has bad karma?
That's your problem. You're carrying that film like a corpse.
You've been selling it for the last 5 years, and the town doesn't want it. Nobody wants it in L.A.
Come up with 3 months' worth of mortgage payments. At least something.
I need another 90 days.
It's too late. If you don't have the money in 30 days, you're out.
Thank you. Tu sais, je fais le mieux que je peux.
Le mieux que tu peux n'est pas suffisant.
Now, Caland's life could be said to be more interesting than his films, couldn't it?
Oh, well, he grew up in Lebanon, came to France where he and his siblings became national champion swimmers. Then he went to New York with a few $100s, and that he somehow parlayed into a chain of restaurants, a small chain, met a lot of famous people who were not yet famous, pitched an idea for a film. A man is so obsessed with a woman that he cuts off her limbs and keeps her in a box, which became the notorious Boxing Elena. He moved to Los Angeles, where an architect who completely misunderstood the modifications Caland wanted to his house just demolished it completely. Instead of jumping off the Hollywood sign, Caland turned that misfortune into a movie about a man who lives in a tent on his own property while his house is rebuilt, using his own property and his own unfinished house.
Okay, that's interesting. On in Paris for the next month. Next, it's relatively unusual for a film to be set in Kosovo in Southeast Europe, and also unusual for a writer-director to be releasing her second feature film at only age 23. Tell us about Luana Bajrami's Phantom Youth.
Well, the film starts with home movies of 2 adorable little cousins who are having a great time just running around carefree. Jump ahead to 2007, shortly before Kosovo breaks away from Serbia after years of war between its Albanian and Serb communities. The girls are now energetic and frankly bored young women who want something more than what their tiny hometown offers, an arranged marriage. They hatch a plan to drive the beat-up family car to Pristina and enroll in the university. Now, their families would never approve. That would imply that they have loose morals, so they have to sneak away.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Zoe and Volta, 2 optimistic Kosovo-Albanian cousins setting out for the big city. So, Lisa, 2 young women who have never been out of their village. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, we know there will probably be obstacles, and we know that their aspirations may be thwarted and their symbiotic friendship tested, but they don't know that. And there's no room at the university, and they fall in with a batch of good-looking, hard-living people who live in a squat. Their experience feels incredibly real to us because the director shoots with real verve.
Okay, well, as well as writing and directing her own films, Bajrami is a very talented French actor, isn't she?
That's right. She played the young housemaid determined to abort an unwanted pregnancy in 2019's Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And in the award-winning adaptation of Annie Ernaux's memoir, Happening, she plays one of the friends who is and isn't helpful when the protagonist simply must get an illegal abortion in 1960s France. Her directing debut, The Hill Where Lionesses Roar, is also a portrait of friendship among girls in Kosovo. She made that when she was 20. That year in France, there were nearly 100 films directed by women. Vera Belmont, then 89, was the oldest, and she was the youngest.
Okay, well, speaking of age, Claus Drexel's documentary Le Vieux, which translates as Old Folks, is garnering praise, is a movie about old French people entertaining.
Yes, it is. This was 6 years in the making. Drexel is German, but he's made a career of documentaries and features here in France. He realized that when we speak of old people, it's usually in a negative light. They cost the health system a lot, there's no place for them to live, etc. He decided to get in a car with his gifted cameraman and, filming his talkative subjects like beautifully lit paintings, get them to open up about their lives. Nearly everybody was born before World War II, and that, as well as the Algerian War, had a lasting effect. The first interview is a baron who lives in a beautifully furnished chateau and regrets the disappearance of French aristocracy since there is no longer a king. On the other end of the spectrum, a man describes his entire family of 5 living in one room when he was a boy, but in a neighborhood where everybody got along and thought that was normal. An elegant Parisian woman explains that during the occupation, Jews were permitted to ride the metro, but only in the last car, and that the only kind word that anybody ever said to her was a neighboring man who said, "I am ashamed to be French." Drexel intersperses the sometimes funny, often moving interviews with carefully composed views of natural vistas and cities that can only be called gorgeous.
Okay, well, Lisa, thank you so much. We're going to leave you now with a glimpse at the elderly stars of Le Vieux. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
T'as accouché 40 femmes.
Non, soigner. Sois pas sourde, hein, maintenant, t'es pas sourde.
L'essentiel, c'est les souvenirs.
Nous, c'était le petit bal du samedi soir.
La noblesse est finie. C'était du temps des rois. Qu'est-ce que ça a à voir maintenant?
Non, on a beaucoup souffert à la mine. Moi, beaucoup de choses à raconter.
On n'entend plus rien. Donc, ça permet de dire plein de conneries.
Mon père était maire, comme disent, de Douarnenez. Et mon beau-père était gaulliste.